Fab. Hello and welcome to this week's Natural Gardening Podcast with me, Josie Rainbird, your natural gardening coach. So there are a few different ways the health of your garden can be disrupted. You know this. There could be disease damage, pest attacks, nutrient deficiencies, climate change, that kind of thing, and even environmental conditions can affect the health of your garden. So in this week's show, we are talking about how to prevent these problems affecting your garden and for now and for the future. So that's what we're talking about today. Let me know in the comments what you're up to today, how your gardens are growing. Let me sort myself out. There we go. So that's what we're talking about today. We are talking prevention, problem prevention. Now, in a conventional garden, Now, in a conventional garden, each problem is tackled as you kind of see it. It's a reactive kind of approach. But an organic garden, in an organic garden, on the other hand, it's much more holistic. Honestly, seriously, my brain. It's much more of a holistic approach. So prevention's better than cure kind of situation. So we're looking to prevent involving the whole garden kind of approach. So holistic approach. So involving the whole garden instead of just specific areas and plants. Long term, this is far more effective. It's been proven to be far more effective and much more cost and time efficient as well. So in all approaches, this is a good one to go for. Perfect. Okay. So what can we do to prevent these issues from occurring and supporting the overall health of our gardens throughout the year? What can we do? That's what we're talking about today. What can we do? So we can, apologies for my screen being odd today. So I've just got to find my notes. It keeps flicking. Don't know what's wrong with it. Okay, perfect. Overall health of your garden throughout the year. We can encourage nature into our garden and understanding the insects which are here to support and are more likely to cause and the ones that are more likely to cause damage. So the ones that are there for support, understanding the difference between what the ones you need to look after and the ones that need looking at. So encouraging nature into your garden and understanding the insects that are here to support your garden and the ones that are here to damage your garden. So understanding balance is also key and not looking to eradicate all the insects and supporting the ones which are here to help. So balance, we spoke about this on the last week's show. If you want to go back and watch that again, if you're watching on YouTube, it should be at the end of the video, it should come up as the next one to watch. Alternatively, if you're watching from the Facebook group, it should be saved up in the featured section or in the membership as well. It should be saved up in the featured section. So you can go back and check that out after the show. So yes, we're going to need to encourage, not eradicate all of the insects, but support the ones that you need that are here to help you so they can manage the ones that are causing the problems. So encourage nature into your garden. So we're talking beneficial insects, insects and wildlife, pollinators, supporting the ecosystem within the soil. Again, we spoke about this the other week. The soil-borne creatures that work hard to process the organic matter. Get my tea. Process the organic matter and release nutrients for your plants to feed on, to take that up through the roots, as well as supporting the root system and protecting them from pest and disease damage as well. So these guys are important. These guys are your support crew, if you like, for your garden. They can save you a lot of work. So they keep things ticking over, keeping the pest populations, tongue twister, not really, but yeah, keeping them under control and keeping your garden happy and healthy. Over time, this can drastically reduce the amount of work that you need to put into your garden to take care of your garden. So they can actually provide quite a lot of support for yourself as much as your plants. So number 2 is, so that was one, which is encouraging nature. So the beneficial insects, wildlife, pollinators, and the soil-borne organisms into your garden to support your garden. Taking care of the soil in your garden. As I say, we just spoke about the soil-borne creatures that will, because I've fed up with saying organisms, creatures that will help to provide long-term plant care and support. So we spoke about those just now briefly in the encouraging in nature into your garden. But the soil-borne creatures are very important. The ecosystem in the garden is the garden ecosystem, the soil ecosystem being part of the garden ecosystem, one of the thirds. So it's a very important part of the garden ecosystem. You can also, I've lost where I am. My screen disappeared. Hang on. Right. Okay. Taking care of the soil, helping to support the ecosystem within the soil and keep it in good condition and free draining, with the type of soil that your plants will need to thrive. This will prevent a lot of health issues going forward. Understanding the type of soil that you've got in your garden and growing the plants that suit that soil can prevent you from needing to provide them with a lot of care, reducing a lot of work and cost as well, replacing plants. Your plants won't be struggling to survive, won't be struggling to find the nutrients they need, and they'll be living in an environment that will actually suit them and will allow them to thrive. So by understanding the type of soil that you've got, supporting the ecosystem within the soil, and even if you need to alter it because it's not quite the best soil for plants that are growing in your garden, even if you want to alter it later and then make it suit a wider range of plants, not reducing what you can grow and everything. So if you've got a veg patch or anything like that, changing the soil up to try and help it to meet more requirements, even if you need to do that, starting off by understanding what you're working with will provide you with some very important and very valuable information to work with, so you can understand what plants will thrive in what you've got, and how you need to condition it up to provide better soil for more plants to thrive in. So that was taking care of the soil in your garden, and the ecosystem will provide long-term care and support for your garden, for your plants, for your garden, and for your garden, I suppose. So that's fine. Understanding how your plants want to grow. Spelling, honestly. Understanding how your plants want to grow and where they. I'm trying not to hit my microphone. Not good. Haven't got anything. Comments. Right. Okay. Number 3, understanding how your plants want to grow and where they want to grow. So give them the best start and support through their lives by growing them where they're happiest. So we just touched on this again with the soil. So growing the correct plants for the correct soil, or changing your soil up, conditioning it to meet the requirements of more plants. So having the plants growing in the best soil and the best environment can actually help a lot towards preventing a lot of issues later on in life, later on in the garden. So understanding when you get plants for your garden, or plants you already have growing in your garden, if you've moved into a garden, if you like, or you're creating one from scratch, giving them the best start and understanding where they like to grow, what conditions suit them, what soil type suits them, and the light levels, etc., that kind of thing. Understanding this will also go a long way towards keeping your plants happy and healthy throughout the year and for the future as well. So this is really important information to know. Now, from a planting point of view, you can also incorporate disease-resistant and highly resilient plants into your garden as well. What's going on with my hands today? Seriously. Hang on. So yeah, from a planting point of view, you can also incorporate disease-resistant and highly resilient plants into your garden. These plants have been genetically selected to be resistant from the most common diseases and issues really that that particular type of plant or family of plants can suffer with or can get. So what have we got? So you can get things like a clubroot resistant cabbage or brassica, members of the brassica family, so clubroot resistant brassicas. You can get scab resistant apples, so for your apple tree, the scab resistant apple trees. You can get the black currants, and I'm pretty sure you can get courgettes and marrows, the squash family as well, that are powdery mildew resistant, and peas that are resistant to wilt as well. So you can get loads of different ones. You can even get roses that are resistant to that are black spot resistant as well. So which is quite important because black spot's a big issue for all types of different roses. So that's quite a good one to look out for as well. So by incorporating these types of plants into your garden, you will reduce the risk of these diseases taking hold and causing issues with other plants in your garden as well and spreading out. So just by having these plants, you're going to really reduce the problems you can have in your garden. So resistant cultivars are a great resource to call on. especially if you've had issues with particular diseases in your garden in the past, which are now stopping you growing these types of plants. So yeah, if you've had problems with clubroot and you haven't got the space to particularly crop rotate your garden, you might not be able to grow any of the brassica family in your garden again. So growing these kind of types of resistant cultivars, they can actually open back up your garden to different vegetables to grow safely, preventing further issues. So let me know in the comments if you already use these kinds of vegetables. If you've got some seeds that you've sown this year, perhaps resistant carrots, as I say about the brassicas, if you've got any clubroot resistant brassicas that you're sowing or growing, if you have, or if you've thought about using them in the past, let me know in the comments. It'll be interesting to see. So number 4 on this line, says 5 altogether. Number 4, keeping an eye on the garden, taking the time to notice issues before they become trouble. Now, with all this being said, having the right conditions in your garden is one thing, but observation is another. So taking the time to observe your garden, to look out for insects that are living in your garden and look for the pest and disease damage that might be occurring, catching it early on, nipping in the bud, so to speak, can actually make everything much easier to manage, much less issue involved completely. So catching it early is good, nipping it in the bud. Observation doesn't have to be a military procedure. You don't have to spend all day out there scouring every inch of your garden looking for things. It could just be a few minutes with a cup of tea and a wander around the garden. You could do it while weeding a little patch of the garden, just have a quick look around and see what's going on. Just observing and trying to see what's going on in your garden, look at the soil, see what insects are going just under the leaves, just as you go through. If you're deadheading, just a quick check over. It doesn't have to be hours long and really stressful and like time consuming. You can just be a quick check over. But as the more often you do it, the more likely you are to catch the issues before they become actual issues. So these can prevent a lot of problems getting out of hand, making them much easier to manage. Half a minute. So, number 5, providing natural botanical protection. Now, we've spoken about companion planting a lot in the past, but the use of companion planting isn't just to attract in beneficial insects and help manage pest and disease damage. It can also be used as a barrier or camouflage. It's got many, many other uses companion planting has. So you can use a barrier or camouflage to protect your plants. So it can be a shelter, if you like, for sun, physical support for climbing plants. So if you're growing clematis up a tree, for instance, things like that, the tree can effectively be like a companion plant for the climber. So physical support for climbers. It can also be shelter from prevailing winds as well. Just a few examples there, but you're getting the picture. So physical botanical protection support for your garden, incorporating various different companion plants depending on what your garden is like, the conditions. This can help you prevent a lot of issues occurring in your garden as the years go on. So this kind of natural, changeable and growing support will move and change with your garden, making it highly adaptable and tends to help improve resilience as well for your garden over time. So resilience helps your plants to recover from damage much faster and will come and helping them to get back to full health more quickly. So this is really important because with the resilience, it doesn't matter how good a garden you are, if your plants aren't resilient to the issues that come up, the disease damage, the pest damage, if they're deficient in certain nutrients, if their root systems aren't developed, they will not be resilient, they will not recover. You're just going to keep buying and replacing plants. It's not going to be good for your garden, and it's definitely not going to be good for your plants. So resilience is important. Resilient plants are important. If we can improve the resilience of our plants growing in the garden, then the risk of disease damage, pest attacks, nutrient deficiency, climate change and environmental conditions affecting the health of your plants will be far less. So this is the point of today's show. So with all of these potential health hazards looming over your garden, there are ways to prevent them from even becoming a serious issue and maintaining a happy and healthy garden. much less stress, much less effort, much less time, much less cost, and everything involved. So that's it for today. I do hope you've taken something useful away from today. If you need to watch this back on replay to take it back in again, that's fine. Feel free. If you have taken something away from today, if you have found this show useful, please give us a thumbs up, just so I can see that I'm talking to you about the right things and things that you're interested in. If you're watching on YouTube, please do all the YouTube things, like, subscribe, and stay tuned to watch more from myself, Gardening Naturally with Green Fingertips. Thank you so much for watching today. I appreciate every one of your eyeballs watching. And I'll see you next week for the next show of the Natural Garden Podcast. So have a lovely week, and I'll see you next week. See you later.